The time is the middle of June in the year 2025. The situation is very dangerous in the Middle East. This danger is because of Iran's nuclear program. Many countries worry that Iran wants to build nuclear weapons. Iran says its program is only for peace. Recently, the fighting between Israel and Iran became very bad. For about 1 week, Israel and Iran attacked each other. Israel used airplanes to strike places in Iran. Iran fired missiles at Israel. People were hurt or killed in these attacks. President Donald Trump is the President of the United States. He was at a large meeting with other world leaders, the G7 summit. Because of the dangerous fighting, President Trump came back to the United States earlier than planned. Now, President Trump is thinking about using the American military. He is considering military strikes against Iran. This means attacking places in Iran related to its nuclear work or military. He has approved plans for attacks, but he has not said go yet. He wants to see if Iran will stop its nuclear work. President Trump says Iran must not have nuclear weapons. He says Iran should stop its program completely. Many leaders from other countries are worried about the fighting. They are trying to talk to Iran, Israel, and the United States. They want to find a way to stop the crisis and prevent a bigger war. Diplomats are working fast. The world is watching to see if the fighting will stop or if it will grow larger. It is a time with great risk. 2. Old problems. The problem with Iran and nuclear power has a very long story. It did not begin only now. Many years ago, in 2015, important countries made a deal with Iran about its nuclear program. These countries included the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Russia, and China. The European Union was also part of this effort. The deal had a long official name, but people often called it the JCPOA. The main goal of the deal was quite simple. Iran agreed to limit its nuclear program in big ways. This meant Iran would not enrich much uranium. Also, Iran would only enrich uranium to a low level of purity. Uranium is needed for nuclear energy plants, but if it is enriched to a very high level, it can be used to make a nuclear weapon. The deal was designed to make sure Iran could not build a bomb. In return for limiting its nuclear work, the other countries agreed to lift many economic rules called sanctions on Iran. These sanctions had made life hard for people in Iran. So Iran agreed to limits, and the world agreed to help Iran's economy. The United Nations Security Council officially supported this deal. However, things changed 3 years later, in 2018. The President of the United States at that time, Donald Trump, decided that the United States should leave the deal. He did not like the agreement at all. He called it the worst deal ever for the United States. After leaving the JCPOA, the U.S. government put back all the sanctions that had been lifted. The U.S. also started a new plan to put more and more pressure on Iran called maximum pressure. When the United States left the deal and put sanctions back, Iran was not happy. Iran said that the other countries, especially the U.S., did not keep their promises under the agreement. Because of this, Iran said it would also stop following some of the rules in the deal. Iran began to enrich more uranium than the deal allowed. It also started enriching uranium to higher levels of purity. And Iran capped a much larger amount of enriched uranium than the deal permitted. The world watches Iran's nuclear activities closely. There is a special group from the United Nations that checks on nuclear programs around the world. This group is called the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA. The IAEA has inspectors who visit nuclear sites in many countries. In the time before June 2025, the IAEA reported several times that Iran was not letting inspectors see everything they needed to see. They said Iran was not fully cooperating with their checks. Then, in June 2025, the group of countries that guides the IAEA made a strong official statement. They said Iran was not following its important nuclear duties and promises. They said Iran was officially in breach of its obligations. The IAEA report also showed that Iran was enriching uranium to a very high level of purity. This level was 60%. This is much, much higher than the level needed for nuclear power plants that make electricity. Experts agree that 60% purity is very close to the level needed to make a nuclear weapon quickly. This report from the UN nuclear watchdog showed that Iran's nuclear program had become much bigger and more worrying since the old deal was broken. The problems that started many years ago grew larger and created more danger. This long history helps explain why the situation right now, in the middle of 2025, is so tense and risky. The old deal failed, and Iran's nuclear work moved forward quickly. 3. The fighting starts. In June 2025, the difficult problems between Israel and Iran turned into real and dangerous fighting. After a week where they had attacked each other a little using planes, the situation became very serious and critical. Over one weekend, Israel began a major military action against Iran. They named this action Operation Rising Lion. Israel used aircraft and powerful missiles in their attack. They aimed for important locations inside Iran. These targets included sites related to Iran's nuclear work, like places where they processed nuclear material. They also hit important military bases and command centers. The goal was to seriously damage Iran's ability to make nuclear weapons and weaken its military strength greatly. These Israeli attacks were very strong and caused much destruction. Hundreds of people were killed in Iran. Most of the people who died were high-ranking military officers and scientists working for the government's military program. Iran quickly responded to Israel's attack with force. They launched many missiles back towards Israel as retaliation. These missiles were fired from Iran and flew a long distance across the region. Some of Iran's missiles got through Israel's defense system and hit cities and towns. They caused damage to buildings and killed people. Sadly, about 24 regular people, innocent civilians, in Israel died because of these missile strikes. The number of people killed directly in this intense week of fighting was the highest ever recorded between these two countries. More than 220 people died in Iran. About 24 people died in Israel. This clearly showed how serious the fighting had become. This sudden and very dangerous fighting created a big international crisis that worried many countries. President Donald Trump was not in the United States at this time. He was attending a meeting of world leaders in another country. When he heard about the heavy fighting and the deaths, President Trump decided he must return home immediately to handle the situation. He left the G7 meeting early. He needed to be back in the United States to manage this very serious international problem and decide what to do next. 4. Trump speaks. President Donald Trump came back home to Washington. He quickly started to work on the problem with Iran. He said many strong things about Iran's nuclear program. President Trump told everyone that Iran must not have nuclear weapons. He said it was very simple. Iran should stop its nuclear work completely. He repeated this idea many times to reporters and on social media. On social media, President Trump wrote his demands. He asked Iran to give up without asking for anything in return. He wrote this in capital letters, like unconditional surrender. He also said that the United States was getting impatient with Iran. He talked about places in Iran where they might be hiding nuclear work. He said the United States had the power to destroy these places. But he also said that saying this did not mean he would do it. President Trump did not say clearly what he would do next. He told people, "I may do it, I may not do it." He added that no one knew what he would decide. Inside the White House, President Trump had important meetings. He spent a long time, about 90 minutes, talking with people who advise him about safety for the country. In these private talks, he made important decisions. Reports said that President Trump approved plans for possible military attacks on places in Iran related to nuclear work. These were plans for attacks if needed, but he did not give the final order to attack. He decided to wait. He said he was waiting to see if Iran would change its mind and stop its nuclear work. President Trump said that Iran should have agreed to a deal that was possible before. He wrote that this would have saved many lives. People who work for the president said that any military actions by the United States so far were only to protect people and bases. They sent more airplanes to the area, but they said this was for defense. They helped shoot down missiles from Iran. They said any final decision by the United States would be made very carefully. President Trump is telling Iran that the United States will not allow them to have nuclear weapons. He is waiting to see what Iran will do next. His final decision about military action is still not clear. 5. Choices to make. The President of the United States has important choices now. The situation is serious. President Trump must decide what to do next about Iran and its nuclear program. There are different paths the U.S. can take. One path is to continue talking and using economic pressure, called sanctions. The goal here is to make a new agreement with Iran. Maybe Iran will agree to stop making its nuclear material at a high level. If Iran agrees to freeze some of its work, the U.S. might not attack. Another path is to use the military for defense. The U.S. has already sent ships and planes to the Middle East. These forces can help protect friends in the region, like Israel, and stop incoming rockets. The military is ready to protect American soldiers and bases there. These actions are to defend, not to start a fight. The third path is a military attack on Iran. This means the U.S. would bomb Iran's nuclear buildings. Some of these buildings are very strong or hidden deep underground. Experts say the U.S. military might be needed to destroy these hard targets. An attack could hit places where Iran keeps its nuclear machines or missiles. President Trump has seen plans for these attacks, but he has not given the order yet. Each choice has dangers. If the U.S. attacks Iran, Iran could fight back hard. This could make the war much bigger and bring in other countries or groups. If the U.S. does not attack, but Iran does not stop its nuclear work, Iran could get a nuclear bomb later. President Trump is watching to see what Iran will do. He has said Iran must not have nuclear weapons. He is waiting for Iran's answer before he makes his final big choice. 6. Iran and others talk. In mid-June 2025, the situation was very tense. After Israel and Iran fought, many people around the world waited. What would happen next? What did Iran say? What did other countries think? Iran's leaders spoke. They said Iran would not give up. They warned that if other countries attacked, there would be much damage. Iran's government said its nuclear program was only for peace, like making power or medicine. They said Iran does not want nuclear weapons. But people in Iran were afraid. In cities like Tehran, some people left their homes. They drove north to safer places. One woman said she left because a house near hers was hit. She asked, why normal people had to suffer because of the nuclear program. Israel's leaders also spoke. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel was hitting Iran's nuclear places. He said Israel was working to stop the danger from Iran. He thanked the President of the United States, Donald Trump, for being a friend to Israel. Other countries tried to help find a way to stop the fighting. Countries in Europe, like Britain, France, and Germany, sent people to talk with Iran's foreign minister. They wanted to try and talk about the nuclear program again. Russia's President Vladimir Putin also talked. He said that the fighting must stop. He did not want to talk about hurting Iran's leaders. He said Iran should use nuclear power for peace, and Israel should feel safe. The United Nations asked everyone to stop and talk. Some Arab countries also quietly told the United States that they did not want the war to get bigger. They were worried about problems in their own countries. Some countries helped their people leave Israel and Iran because it was dangerous. Countries like Australia, New Zealand, and Turkey flew their citizens out. So, while the fighting happened, many people were talking. Iran said it would not stop. Israel said it was removing a threat. And many other countries asked for peace and talks. 7. What spies say. While leaders talk and fight, another group has important ideas: the spies and people who study Iran. U.S. spies look closely at Iran's nuclear program. They watch what Iran does. These U.S. spies have a different idea from some people in Israel. The U.S. spies think Iran is not working to build a nuclear bomb right now. They say Iran is not close to having a bomb ready. The U.S. spies believe Iran needs more time. They say Iran would need 2 or 3 years. This is the time needed to get the special material for one bomb. This is much more time than some people in Israel say. Israel attacked some of Iran's nuclear places, but U.S. officials think these attacks did not stop Iran for a long time. Maybe the attacks made Iran's program slower by only a few months. One important place is Fordo. This site is under a mountain. People think the Israeli attacks did not hit Fordo hard. It is still okay. People who study nuclear programs also say that Iran is not about to make a weapon. They say there is no clear sign that Iran is ready to make a bomb very soon. They talk about breakout time. This is the time Iran needs to make the material for a bomb. These experts say this time is still many months. So, the U.S. idea is this: Iran is getting better at making nuclear material, but Iran still needs a lot more time to make a real nuclear weapon. They need time to build the parts and put them together. These ideas from the spies and experts are very important for the U.S. President Donald Trump. They help him think about what to do. If Iran is not close to having a bomb, maybe the U.S. does not need to attack right now. It gives President Trump more time to decide. It suggests the danger is not as fast or as big as Israel says. This could help the U.S. try other things, like talking, instead of just attacking. 8. What happens next? The world is now in a difficult time. Nobody knows for sure what will happen next. President Donald Trump has told Iran clearly what he wants. He wants Iran to stop its nuclear program completely. He says Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. Now, everyone is waiting for Iran's answer. What will Iran do? Will Iran talk? Will they agree to stop doing some nuclear work? Or will Iran say no and continue? Iran's leaders have said they will not stop and will fight back if attacked. But maybe, away from public eyes, they will think about talking. The next few days are very important. People are watching closely for any sign from Tehran. President Trump has a hard choice. He has military plans ready. He could order the United States military to strike Iran. This might happen if Iran does not agree to stop its nuclear program, or if fighting continues. But if Iran shows it will stop or slow down its nuclear work, President Trump might decide not to attack. He said he is waiting to see what Iran does. If the United States does strike Iran, it could cause big problems. The war could get much bigger. Other groups in the Middle East might start fighting too. This could bring more countries into the conflict. It could also affect oil prices around the world, because the Middle East is very important for oil. Many leaders in other countries are worried. They are asking everyone to stay calm and try to find a peaceful way. The future is not clear. Will Iran make a move towards peace? Will President Trump order a military strike? The situation is very tense. The world is waiting to see what happens next in this dangerous time between diplomacy and a wider war.
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.